Hello and welcome to episode number 10. I'm probably going to complete my character's legs in this tutorial. So yeah, I'm going to start colouring this boot buckle in. So yeah. Yeah, because this leg is behind the front leg, I'm going to need to use dark colours on this one. Now I am using the eyedropper tool, which is the shortcut is I on the keyboard, because I stands for eyedropper, so that makes sense. So yeah. Right, oh yeah, that's right. Sometimes I need to use something called close small gaps, because sometimes the fill doesn't work correctly, so you have to toggle between closing small gaps and not closing small gaps. So yeah. Yeah. By the way, this is at times 4 speed, so don't worry, you won't see it at times 1 speed unless there's something I need to explain at times 1 speed. So yeah. Oh yeah, I need to darken this, so yeah. Sometimes it's a good idea to just change the loom on it and lower it by about 30, and the same thing for the orange. I might change it, it's still subject to change, but you can see what's going on, so yeah. Yeah, don't forget to fill the holes in the buckle. Right, okay. Sometimes it's a good idea to use the pen tool, sometimes it's better to use the stroke lines and then bend it afterwards. Right, okay. That looks okay to me. I think that looks dark enough. Right, okay, we're gonna colour the back of her leg in. Sometimes it's better to do it this way. Sometimes, oh yeah, I just realised something. My character is in like different layers, and if it's on 2 different layers, you can't fill it in. So it's better to just highlight it, put it on the same layer, then it'll work afterwards. So yeah. Yeah, just keep that in mind. I've done that a bunch of times. Other people I know have done this offline and they were like, oh wow, you actually knew how to fix my problem. It's like, yeah, I said this in a different video ages ago. I'm probably gonna change that to a slightly lighter colour because it doesn't make sense why that bit would be darker than the rest. Right, I'm gonna change this knee. Obviously it doesn't look very good right now because it was rough back in the previous episodes. I am actually gonna change it. Right, let's neaten this one up. I'm probably gonna raise this up a bit because it does look a little bit too low of a knee. I mean, you wouldn't have your knee where your shin is, would you? So I'm probably gonna heighten it up. It does take a little bit of adjusting here and there, but there you go. Right. Fun fact, I was thinking about making something called tier list. This can apply to almost anything. Tier list can apply to food and drinks, organs in the body, what's best in an opinion, right? I was thinking about making one for music, like the best save room theme and such, so that kind of thing. Yeah, I knew I would need to adjust her knee upwards after checking her knee was too low, right on her shin. This is why I like digital drawings rather than physical drawings. No rubbing out and smudge marks. So yeah. Since I naturally make art videos, I think at some point, hopefully, I should do a tier list for best to worst art techniques. I definitely include ones like practice every day, flip canvas, or art marathon. Still need to alter her knee to the left, but not by much. Yeah, if you want amazing art, you have to be willing to spend time fixing things. I remember back at university, I was drawing some simple art of an anime girl in a kimono and holding a paper fan, and one of my favourite friends was trying to record me drawing art, and I was literally at the beginning. I did say to him, hold on friend, this is gonna take a while to finish. And he said, yeah, the thing with art is the best pictures takes ages. So I was like, yeah. Yeah, this boot is gonna need like a complete overhaul because in the previous episode I did not concentrate on the front boot very much. whereas I concentrate on the back boots so much more, which is why the back boot's practically finished now. So yeah, this boot, a lot of it is going to change. So like I mentioned, it's going to take a complete overhaul, and yes, this boot is just not very good. I've not even curved it at all. I mean, look at that, it's just like lots of like simple lines and that's it. So don't worry, this is definitely going to look a lot better in about 2 minutes at times 4 speed, of course. Yeah, that heel's going to have to change. I didn't even draw an arch in earlier on, because at the bottom of real boots there's this thing called an arch. So I need to put that in as well, because it's not going to make sense how the back boot has an arch and the other one doesn't have an arch at all. And yes, the buckle's going to have to change a little bit as well. Some of it's going to have to move to the right a little bit, and also it's going to need to move up a bit as well, because it's not going to make sense how it's like inconsistent between the two boots unless it's asymmetrical boots, like a yellow boot and a brown boot, that kind of thing. It's like very few characters have it that way anyway. Oh yeah, this definitely looks nicer already. Sometimes you just have to just use your brain to actually make things look better. But yeah, and yes, it is true that the brain's more important than the heart and every other organ is. That's what a lot of people say anyway, but I do agree, because that's the thing that adds here, to think and control all the other organs in the body anyway. So yeah. There's been a few artists that goes around saying, oh, don't use too many layers when making artwork. The thing with me is that sometimes I use a lot of layers and sometimes I don't use a lot of layers. For this one, which I made as part of my singing tricks animation, I did make like more than 15 layers, and it's because there's a lot of characters there and there's a lot of tables and chairs and so on. And there's that see-through glass there as well, so that's why. So yeah, I think if there's like more than 3 characters, you're gonna need a lot of layers for something like that. So yeah. Sometimes I like showing my videos to offline people, because then you can see their facial reactions when they see something, and it's like, oh wow, you made that? That's actually what they said to me, and it's like, yes. So it's like, and it's usually new offline friends that I make, so yeah, that's why. Oh yes, another aspect I'd love to add to my tier list if I ever make a tier list video is use references. It's because I still use references nowadays. I even use my old artwork as references because I don't want to get my character's hair wrong or the clothing wrong or something, so that's why. It's nice to look at your old artwork from like 5 or 6 years back, because you can be like, oh wow, this is still pretty good for 6 years back type thing. So yeah, I think using references is a brilliant idea. So yeah, I drew like this mountain here, and I did have to look up other mountains and base it off those, so that's an example of me using references right there. So yes, one extra thing for the tier list I'd love to add to it is draw before you sleep. So you know, draw before bed type thing. I have tried this a few times before, but usually like 10 or 15 minutes before I sleep, and it's like, oh, I'll just draw this real quick, and then it's where I just go, oh okay, then that'll do, and then go to sleep. People said that that actually makes it easier to sleep, but I'm like thinking, but staring at a screen puts blue light in your eyes, and the more blue light that's in your eyes, the harder it is to sleep, because you have to get rid of blue light in order to be able to sleep properly. And also, blue light actually puts headaches on you, so you don't want to have too much blue light in your eyes. So I don't think drawing before bed always helps type thing, so yeah. Let me change the stroke thickness. Problem with Adobe Flash is every time I load it up, it resets the stroke line thickness to 1.0, and I almost always use 0.1. Let me add a movie clip, and I'm gonna make a skin blur. Let's add a drop shadow on the bottom right filters box. I usually have it as 3 pixels on both X and Y. So yeah, we need to make sure we're in the correct layer as well. A long time ago, I remember using a graphics tablet. A relative let me borrow theirs for drawing, and I was told to be careful with the tablet, which obviously I was, right? I'm gonna be honest, I did not like using graphic tablets. I made some wiggly lines and such, so I stayed with mouse and keyboard for this, so much easier to control. I'll use the eyedropper tool to grab the brown colour and apply that to her tag. I did a drawing of Yua earlier on, and I completely forgot to add an orange lining. I have not decided yet how many frames I'm gonna put in this walk cycle, but judging that she's gonna be walking quite slowly, I'm probably gonna make it between 20 and 30 frames, because whenever I make walk cycles, I tend to make them 24 frames. Now this boot here definitely doesn't look that good, so I'm probably gonna change it a little bit, because that boot doesn't look very curved. So I'm gonna add a few more curves to it, especially that heel part there. More about tier lists. One art technique I would add to it is learning different art styles. I usually stick to like one or two, right? There's one for the Digger series, which is based off Hey Arnold, and there's another one that I'm using right now, which is based on Kyoto animation, because that's the type I like to use. There's a very good thing and then there's a very bad thing about learning different art styles. The good thing is that it can help broaden your experiences, but the bad news is that you're basically back to level 1 when using a new art style. So yes, you'd have to mind out for learning a new art style of some kind. Right, let me check something. I need to lower the buckle a bit, otherwise it'll look strange how the back boot has a buckle that's in a different position to the other. So it's like one buckle's like higher than the other, so you have to make sure it's consistent. Another art technique I'd like to add to the tier list, well, most people probably wouldn't count as an art technique, but it's more like advice type thing, and is to ask for feedback. Now, whenever I make drawings, especially when it's not finished, I usually ask a couple of people if it looks okay or not, right? For instance, I made this drawing, which is rough, ages ago. Now, as you can see, Yua's red eye doesn't look very good, does it? Whereas the yellow eye actually looks very good. So I asked someone called Yumeko Moon, who does the voice of English Nagisa in my series, and I asked Yumeko Moon, does the yellow eye look better? And she said, yeah, that one definitely looks a lot more aesthetic and pleasing. So I stuck with that one. So technically Yua could have had red eyes at one point, but the red eye looks very robotic. And that's one example. Another example is another Yua drawing, where I thought Yua looked cross-eyed, but when I asked another voice acting friend called Shiren, who does Kyoka's voice in my animation series, she said Yua looked fine as she was, so I thought, oh okay then, so that's why. Fun fact, one of the things I love about Adobe Flash is whenever I get to colour something in. It's one of my favourite things to do because it makes the picture look more complete and such. So yeah. Episode 11 is going to be a very different episode to a lot of my other art tutorials. Like the eye blink one that I've got right here, which I'll put as a card. A lot of people are actually quite watching that one, so thank you very much for watching that, but I'll put it as a card here just in case you've not seen it yet. If you really like my videos, hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. So yeah, thank you.